I told you last week that everything we do out of our need to avoid pain or seek pleasure. Everything. And if you don't buy into this theory, I want you to test yourself on it this week in every area of your life. If you aren't behaving in a certain way about anything in your life and wonder why, there's a reason. You are finding more pleasure in the way you're doing it because you will always make your decisions, your permanent decisions, that is, based on what brings you pleasure. I would encourage those of you who don't buy it to journal about it and see what you find. You don't jump up when you hear the dryer buzzer go off. Why is that? Well, because you find more pleasure in sitting on the couch, watching the end of that TV show, finishing another chapter in your book, than you do jumping up to fold those clothes right out of the dryer. You don't get up in the morning when the alarm clock goes off, even though you've decided you really need to get up earlier in the morning to accomplish what you want to accomplish. Why is that? Well, because you find it more pleasurable to stay in bed, in that toasty, warm bed, than get up and put your feet on the hard, cold ground. You really want to organize that closet that's just been bugging you for some time. So why don't you? Well, because there's more pain in doing the work than there is reward or pleasure in getting the job done. I promise you, everything, every choice you and I make is made out of our need to avoid pain or seek pleasure. And like I said, when the pain gets bad enough, we will do something about it temporarily. And like I said, we feel miserable in our clothes. So we go on a diet. We can't find something in that closet. So we finally have to do something about the closet and organize it. Our clothes are wrinkled and we're sick of sending our kids out in public with wrinkled clothes. So we get up and fold them. We are either motivated by pain or pleasure, but remember, we're wired for pleasure. So ultimately, we will always turn back to what brings us pleasure. Are you seeing it? Pleasure brings permanent results. The answer to use pain and pleasure as your friend. Create enough pain around an event and you will turn from it. Create enough pleasure regarding it and you will stick to it. Which brings us back to the reward system. We've got to find a way to reward ourselves for positive and life-changing behavior to make it stick. I'm going to share some random thoughts about rewards and some random rewards that might help you and get you started. You will ultimately have to discover and provide yourself with the rewards that create pleasure for you. Knowing you, loving yourself, as we have continued to talk about, is the key to rewards. Because how can I suggest a reward to you that might just be amazing to me, but would not be the thing that you would be motivated by? So here's some thoughts to process and get your pain and pleasure thing going. One of my greatest motivational tools is to create a pain and pleasure list regarding some behavior. Let's say it's how I'm feeling when I'm overeating and gaining weight. and how I'm feeling when I'm eating healthy, exercising, and slender. Make those lists, detailed lists, particular feelings about those lists, and go all the way till your pain is pain and your pleasure is pleasure. And when you're done and you see those two lists, how I feel when I'm eating out of control and I'm eating junk and I'm feeling crummy, or how I feel when I'm eating healthy and exercising and taking care of myself, the pain and the pleasure. When you look at that list, and ultimately you're going to have to ask the big question, why am I living here? Why am I living in that list that's causing me so much pain? And what will happen is, on autopilot, you'll turn from it, because we don't like pain. We do what we do, which is to seek pleasure. But I want you to hear something. That's temporary, that we'll leave that pain list behind. We've got to create enough pleasure that it becomes permanent, a permanent way of life. Celebrate milestones with rewards. And seriously, a milestone can be a day, 24 hours of being sober, if you know what I mean. Or it can be a week or a month, or maybe you celebrate a year's anniversary of not eating sugar, or not drinking, or eating a healthy diet, or walking every day. The rewards should look different depending on that milestone. Kind of like there's a 5-pound goal and there's a reward there, but there's another one for 50 pounds. They should be different. Kind of like graduating from elementary school and graduating from college. The reward is different depending on the milestone. Reward yourself with things that are soothing and restorative to your physical body, your emotional body as well. And you should have a better idea of what those things are, because you spent time learning to love yourself. Don't reward yourself with things that trigger you. So many of you have heard me say for years, don't use food or drink as a reward. And some of you were thinking, I know, but it's on program. It's a non-fat latte. It's a trigger. It's still a food reward. The idea is to learn to reward yourself apart from food and drink. What other pleasures do you have in this beautiful life that aren't about consuming food or drink? Super, super important for you to explore that list. Don't reward yourself with anything that causes another dependency. Think about what that might be. Maybe it's a hot bath, a nap, an afternoon doing something you love, spending time with a friend on a walk, taking a class online, starting a new hobby. What would it be on your list? Active rewards, they've discovered, are more powerful than buying things, because the activity reminds you that this new lifestyle is one to be maintained. So think about that when you're planning your rewards. Select behaviors that you want to influence when you think about your reward system. What behaviors do you need to reward yourself for that would change and influence the rest of your life? Think about when we were in school and our teachers would put a star on the chart. They were rewarding us for influence. They were influencing us in areas and behaviors that they wanted to see changed. What behaviors do you need to influence yourself with a reward system? What would happen if you used coins or buttons or beads to create some kind of a coin system to reward yourself until they added up to be a significant reward? That might be fun. We all have a box of buttons, don't we, that we're not using. Set goals, either behavior goals or weight loss goals, then have a reward connected to each one of those. Post them, share them with your family, share them with your friends, share them at the Healthy Way. I've heard for years too, rewards don't really work for me because I pretty much get anything I want whenever I want it. The reward system works. So withhold something from yourself if that's what it's going to take. Then reward yourself. Remember what you learned earlier this week. Our brains are wired for rewards. When we expose ourselves to a reward, the brain responds by releasing dopamine. We will go back to the corner of the box for a hit of dopamine as many times as possible if we are rewarded well. So how can you take advantage of that? How can you take advantage of the science of our brains? How can you make the reward system a vital and life-changing part of your permanent story of your health, body, soul, and spirit? Friends, this is week 18. That means there's 10 weeks left on this program. Wow. Why wouldn't you plan rewards for the next 10 weeks and let the reward system prove itself to you? 10 weeks. What are you going to do with your amazing life in the next 10 weeks? Get on board with rewards. Prove it to yourself. We are wired for pleasure. We must find healthy, beautiful, restorative ways to pleasure ourselves so that we might continue to walk out this path permanently. 10 weeks. I'm with you all the way. Look forward to seeing you again next week. Bye-bye.